Today's video is brought to you by the new Rivendell art print by Jerry Vanderstelt, which will be revealed exclusively for the first time later in this video. In many ways, his tale is the inverse of Aragorn's. He was a man born to be a king, but would instead begin his people's life in the wilderness. From the wars of Angmar, to the fall of a kingdom, to the wilds of Eriador, he would lay the foundation for Aragorn's rise nearly 1,000 years later. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover the life of Aranarth, the first chieftain of the Dúnedain. Aranarth is born in the year 1938 of the Third Age. By the time of his birth, the once great kingdom of Arnor is very much in a reduced state. It has long been splintered into separate, smaller kingdoms, and Aranarth's grandfather, Arathorn, is the king of the greatest of these, Arthedain. Aranarth's father is Arvedui, heir to the throne. His mother is Firiel, daughter of the king of Gondor. Thus, Aranarth is descended from both the house of Isildur and the house of Anarion. This would be a key point in Aragorn's lineage when he would ascend to Gondor's throne. In 1964 of the Third Age, when Aranarth is 26 years old, his grandfather dies, at which point Arvedui becomes the 15th king of Arthedain. Over the following years, it would become clear to Arvedui that an ancient enemy was planning a grand assault, and in 1973, he sends word to Gondor, Angmar is preparing a killing stroke. This fearsome foe, having worked toward the Northern Kingdom's destruction for well over 600 years, is led by the Lord of the Nazgul, the Witch King. One of the most pivotal moments in young Aranarth's life comes in the winter of the following year, when Angmar attacks their capital city of Fornost. Among the defenders of Arthedain are not only the men of the north, but also elves of places like Lindon and Rivendell, as well as some 500 hobbit archers from the Shire. Presumably, Aranarth is present at this battle alongside his father. However, at some point the two would be separated in their retreat. We know this, for we are told that Arvedui, fleeing with two of the Palantiri, would hold out for a time in the North Downs, before being forced to hide in some old dwarven mines in the northern Blue Mountains. In a desperate state of hunger, they would travel north, seeking the aid of the Lossoth people near the ice bay of Forochel. Whether it was in their retreat from the North Downs, or by taking separate paths from the Blue Mountains, Aranarth would be split from his father. For it is from Aranarth that Círdan the shipwright would learn of Arvedui's dire situation to the north. Círdan would send a ship to find the exiled king. However, the king, the ship, and the Palantiri would be lost to the sea. Thus, with the death of his father, Aranarth becomes king of his people, though they now reside in Círdan's realm of Lindon, taking refuge from their fallen lands. Finally, later that very year, Gondor would come to their aid. Prince Arnor would lead a great fleet which filled the ports of Forlond, Harlond, and the Grey Havens. Bolstered by their allies, the Dúnedain of the north, led by Aranarth, the elves of Lindon, led by Círdan, and even some hobbits, joined this great host in marching across the Lune and bringing war to the Witch King. For his part, the Lord of Angmar had spent the preceding months relishing in his victory, setting up Fornost as his new base of operations. He is so overly confident that rather than prepare for a siege, he rides out to face the host on open ground. The clash begins near the hills of Evendim, on the plains between Lake Nanuiel and Fornost. This skirmish goes poorly for Angmar, which begins to retreat toward their new base. However, at this moment, the main body of Gondor's cavalry descends from the north, having passed around the hills. Angmar is routed, and with the arrival of Glorfindel and a force of elves from Rivendell, the Witch King is forced to retreat, and his kingdom of Angmar is destroyed. With the help of the elves and their kin from the south, Aranarth and his people are victorious. However, it is a bittersweet victory. Arthedain is in ruins, and his people have been greatly reduced over years and centuries of war. Aranarth is now a king with no kingdom. With so few men remaining in the north, Aranarth takes a new title, Chieftain of the Dúnedain. Rather than living in mighty cities and being great movers of the world, the men of the north instead begin to operate in the shadows, silent guardians and watchful protectors of the free folk of Eriador. Thus, the Rangers of the North are born. Aranarth would give great heirlooms of their people to Elrond for safekeeping. For Rivendell was no doubt a better place for such things than the scattered settlements of the Rangers. These items would include things like the shards of Narsil, the Star of Elendil, and the Scepter of Annuminas. The final heirloom would have to be reacquired, possibly by Aranarth himself. For Arvedui, in his final days, had given the Ring of Barahir to the Losoth people in thanks for their aid. We are told that the Rangers would, years later, ransom the ring from the Losoth and give it, along with the other heirlooms, to Elrond. But Aranarth and his descendants would trust something far greater to Elrond's care, their own sons. In 2012 of the Third Age, 36 years into his rule, Aranarth would have a son, Arahel. His son, however, would not be born in the wilds of Eriador. Instead, Arahel would be born and raised in Rivendell, a tradition that would continue throughout the generations of Dúnedain to come. Aranarth would lead his people for a total of 130 years, longer than any other chieftain while that title would last. He dies in 2106 at the age of 168 years old, and Arahel takes his place as leader of their people. Aranarth's life is one that shows the resilience of the Dúnedain. While born to be a king, he would lead his people to have purpose, standing against the evils of Middle-earth, no matter their state. His leadership would serve as a foundation to that of Aragorn, a man born a ranger, but who would rise to become a king, and finally undo the fall of his people 1,000 years after his great ancestor, Aranarth. You'll always find great artwork made by real-life artists here on Nerd of the Rings. And today we're giving a special shout out to Jerry Vanderstelt's new Rivendell piece making its debut in this very video. And you can save 15% at vandersteltstudio.com with the code RivendellNerd, now through January 5th. A huge thanks to Jerry and all our artist friends listed in the description. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. CCDC Red Team, Evil Chameleon, Tom DeBombadil 19, Lissamy the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Alvin Einbert, Jeremy Daniel Derby, Madame Director, Freya Firestar, Chris and Meg Q, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Kiara Berlin, Z and N, Evely, Kia, Landry Quinn Walker, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.